Rahim. Here we have a water system which we want to make it automate actually to get all the messages on our screen. So here we have a tank to store the feed water which comes to the RO plant in dialysis unit, and we have one RO plant in ICU. So we have three RO plants altogether. One is in the ICU and two in the dialysis unit. So when the water is being stored in the feed water, this is being stored by the maintenance department. They prepare the water to the quality of up to 200 microsiemens maximum, and then once it is stored in two of the tanks, 5,000 liter each, and then once it is filled up, when it's ready, so that will be feed into our feed water tanks. We have 2,000 liter, two tanks over here. So once the water comes in, before it come into the tank, it has to pass through all these sensors. One is the conductivity sensor. Conductivity sensor will monitor the quality of the water. If the quality is not good, means within that limit of conductivity, it will not allow the water to go into the tank. Instead, it will allow to go into the drain. It will drain the water till it become the quality of the water is good. It will flush the water out. It will not allow the water to. It will stop by this solenoid. S1 is a solenoid. It will be switched off. This is a normally open solenoid. Whenever there is a fault, it will close. This is a normally closed solenoid, which will be closed all the time. Whenever there is a fault, it will open this solenoid, S2. So next is the temperature. It will try to monitor the temperature. If the temperature is very high, it will give an audible alarm, audible and visual alarm. Here also, audible and visual alarm. If the problem is severe, then it will give an audible alarm. If the problem is not severe, it will not give a. Then next passes through the flow sensor, flow meter. Flow meter also allows the water and check the amount of water flowing through the pipe going into the tank. If the amount of water is going more than the daily use, suppose daily use is 5,000 liter of water. If it go beyond that one, like 10% more than that one, so it will give an alarm to us. It will give an indication, plus it will give an alarm why the water is going more than the required quantity. So to check, we have to check whether any leak or anywhere it's going overflowing, something like that. And then it passes through the pressure sensor. It will try to monitor the pressure over there and keep on monitoring. pH of value also monitored over here. And then there is a float sensor, float valve. Float sensor, this will check the level of the water. If it is more than 25%, 50%, and then 100%, like that it will try to check. And when the water is full, it will switch off the solenoid valve and close the water level. If the water is up to 85%, like 15% it go down, then it will switch on the solenoid valve again and it will fill the tanks, both the tanks. Once it is full, it will give you a blue color indication. When it is half, it will give you a green color indication. When it is 25%, it will give you a red indication and plus alarm, why the water is low actually. So it will give an alarm. This is the three conditions which also connected to the solenoid. These lines will show you the connection with the sensor to the solenoid valve. And then there is a water overflow sensor. This water overflow, suppose if there is any leak in the solenoid or the water is overflowing, then it will detect and it will try to switch off this solenoid. And it will give an alarm whenever there is a water overflow. If it's filling beyond the limit, then it will give an alarm. Then the water passes through the cooling system. Here we have a heat exchanger and we have a cooling pumps and we have a pressure sensors and temperature sensor in our water line as well as in the chiller line. This water comes from the chiller. This temperature will be also monitored over here and the pressure. If the temperature is going beyond the limit, then it will give an alarm. The inflow and outflow, both the sides we put as sensors over here. And here is a temperature sensor which will tell us the temperature of the tank. If the tank temperature is high, the pumps will be on. and then it will keep on circulating the water till the tank temperature is reached. Once the temperature is reached, these pumps will be off. Okay, and then the next line is another line which is going to the RO system for the 7th floor for the ICU, medical ICU. It passes through the booster pump and pressure sensors, and then the softener and the carbon filter and conductivity sensor C2, temperature sensor, pressure sensor, and ORP sensor. So once the water comes in, and it will try to build up the pressure. This is these pumps are build up and will build up the pressure to 4 bar. Once the pressure is reached, it will switch off the pump. When it will try to maintain the pressure of 4 bar. In case of any leak over here in this area, the leak sensors are there which will check and switch off the pump. It will not allow the pump to be on whenever there is a leak, when the leak sensor is on. So these two booster pumps work and build up the pressure and give the water to the RO system. Once the pressure is built up, it goes to the softener. Here we have a bypass valve, actually 3-way valve. If you bypass, then it should be a alarm over here and indicator as well. We have a brine tank that also, if the level of the brine tank goes down, it has to give an indication. Then comes a carbon filter. Even for the carbon filter, we have a 3-way valve, and there should be a bypass. Whenever it goes into the bypass, then it should give us an alarm indication over here. Then comes the conductivity sensor. If the conductivity is very high, then again it has to give an alarm and try to maintain the conductivity. Temperature, pressure, and ORP sensors are there. So all these are being monitored over here before going into the RO system. Once if there is any chlorine level over here, it has to give an alarm over here. So the RO system work over here, gives the water supply to the dialysis unit, and then RO system also will be indicated with the 3 indications. If it is blue, then the RO is working, it's on. If it is green, then the RO is in the standby position. If it is red, then the RO is in a disinfection mode. And another line from after the booster pump, it will go to the 5th floor, down into the dialysis unit, where it is connected through a solenoid S3. In case of any problem or something like that, this can be shut off, and then the water supply can be cut off to the 5th floor. If any leakage or any problem over there in the 5th floor, it can go down. Then the water comes into the 5th floor through this the same sensors. Conductivity is being monitored over here. If the conductivity is high, then it will go into the drain. If the conductivity is normal, it will go into the normal flow. And then temperature and the flow also, as discussed in the previous in the past, flow also. If the flow goes more than the limit, then we consider that the water is draining out somewhere, or it's overflowing and it's going to the waste actually. So that this has to be controlled. It will give an alarm, and then the pressure, pH, is being monitored. And then once it goes down, if the conductivity is high, then it will go to the drain. This solenoid will be on only in case of the high conductivity, no other case. And then the water passes through the heat exchanger, and then here also it's monitored by a temperature and input and output temperature, pressure for the chiller line. So here we monitor the pressure. Once the pressure is built up, the booster pumps should maintain the pressure, and if there is any leak, it will switch off the pumps once again. And then it passes through the softener. And then through the carbon filter. If the softener is having a bypass stage, it should give an indication, red indication. If it is working in a normal, it will give a green indication. Brine tank also, if the level is okay, then also it has to give a green indication. Same way, if the carbon filter is in a bypass, this condition should not be there actually. It should give an alarm and indication as well, red light, alarm, and if it is working with a normal, it will be green. And then conductivity, temperature, pressure, and the ORP, the chlorine level, is being checked over here, and the water is given to the RO system. So this is how the whole system works.